Hi, my name is Isa Avendaño from Finca Soleil, Costa Rica. Today we're gonna look into the rotation of the horse's spine. When you like the video, please leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to keep up to date with all the videos we're posting about the horse's biomechanic and healthy movement. In the video, you're gonna learn about the rotation of the spine, what it is, and how can we detect that there is a problem. Further on, I'm gonna give you 3 ideas of exercises that you can use to fix the rotation of your horse's spine. So let's get started, let's begin. When the horse moves, their spine rotates 3-dimensionally. It goes up and down and from left to right. When we're riding the horse, we can feel the rotations in the movement in our hip. And when we're on the ground observing another rider, we can see pretty good the rotations or in which side the horse is rotating at the stirrups. Horses are born crooked and our riding wants to straighten them. So when we're riding, we're trying to bring the horse's spine to the center, but we need to be able to move it to both sides, and that's what we're doing in the lateral movements. So when we are in a left bend, we want the rotation to the left. So that means that we are sitting in the center, but maybe our left stirrup is a tiny little bit lower than the right. This will show us that the horse is in the correct rotation. My wonderful horse Guapito, he is usually or naturally in a left rotation. So when I take him and his shoulder in to the right, I could feel him sitting me to the left. So he sits me to the left, means the shoulder in rotation should be to the right. He is in the wrong rotation. And I worked on that in the last couple of months or longer. And I'm pretty happy because most of the times now, I can within a few steps kind of get him into a correct rotation. Let's take a precise observation of the inside hind leg and the croup area. When you see the hip bone, and I see if I can make you a little arrow here, you can see that in the first steps, it's really like pushing up, it pushes out. So that translates to my hip into kind of like feeling that I'm pushed to the left. And, you know, when I sometimes talk with riders about that, the rider thinks it's their seat that's the problem. And obviously, a balanced seat with a balanced seat, I can help my horse to get into the correct rotation. But it's the horse that sits me to a certain way. The difficulty with this is if I don't work on that or correct that, I will get my horse more and more crooked over the time instead of working on the straightness, what is crucial for the horse's health and strength and development. So when you look at that little section here, you can see that in the last steps, he's starting to bring the hip a little bit down, and you know, it looks really minor, but when you're riding in this slow pace and you take a precise feel to it, you can really feel the shift of the hip, of the spine and the rotation, how the movement goes smoothly throughout the whole horse's body, and then this exercise actually becomes a beneficial exercise for the horse. The first exercise that helped me a lot, and mainly the most with him, was to go between shoulder in and travers. So when I was riding the shoulder in, and I think here you can also see a little bit in the sequence, the first steps, he wasn't in the correct rotation. And also here I'm working on the flexion of the paw because I wasn't quite there. And you can see where some stiffness that I'm working through here, and then the flexion gets better. And I'm going for the corner where I mobilize his hip. And then I would go for a few steps from the shoulder in to the travers. Just a few steps, kind of shifting his spine to the center over. And then I was trying to keep, and you see it's not easy. And I think for the video I made it a little bit more extreme than I would usually do it. Because I think usually I wouldn't really go into a travers. I just kind of like gave like the feeling of travers into the shoulder in to correct rotation, and then went back straight to shoulder in. So here I'm doing the changes in the trot. I did them a little bit for longer terms here, but I would also do that in a trot, maybe not as in the walk, but I could feel how thinking of travers, thinking of bringing the haunches in, would improve his rotation. I could feel my seat coming down to the right, what will indicate me that he is in a correct rotation and that the movement goes through his whole body. I did always write both exercises on both sides, like shoulder in and travers, but certainly that specifically rotation issue I had on his right when I'm riding on the right side or in a right bend. So obviously I would only do that to the right. That's why I'm showing it on the right here. And certainly it's a little bit harder side for us. The left side, usually the flexion is a little bit softer. That's the first exercise that you can try with your horse, to think a little bit travers while you ride the shoulder in. The second exercise that I like to use a lot is the decreasing of the circle. So I would usually do this in a really slow walk, and I think you can see here I'm trying to slow him down a little bit more, getting into really slow, precise, step-by-step walking. And then my aids would be that I am like I'm a pretty small vault. You could start that a little bit bigger in the beginning. And then I would take him into a shoulder in position. And then in that shoulder in position, I would think every step when his front leg goes up, and you can see here he drifted a little bit out, that I push his shoulder in. So I kind of like take my body, my reins. It's not extreme. You can see I'm keeping in balance. And I think often when you think of aids, you need to really first just think them and perform them really subtly, so you don't disturb the balance, because obviously it's about creating balance. The last topic I want to talk about is the seat. Now, the seat is really important into all exercises we were showing before, but I want to suggest you that if you don't have yet a very centered, calm, and balanced seat, I wouldn't mess too much about thinking of weight aids, because I observe a lot of riders that are not yet very centered. And when I ask them to use weight aids, or if they try to apply weight aids, it seems to be too much and much more bringing the horse out of balance than helping the horse to balance, right? So when we're using weight aids or using our seat, we need to be very supple with that, and we need to stay light and introduce it slowly, kind of step by step. Obviously, we need the knowledge of our shoulder position, which leg we're using, and things like that. That comes with learning the aids. But then what you can do, that if you feel like your horse is on the wrong rotation, is that you can give a little push on the inside stirrup. So not like one steady push. Obviously, our aids need to always be in movement with the movement of the horse. But the moment that you feel your right hip going down in the movement, you can kind of push a little bit down into your stirrup for that half of the second, and then bring it up. It needs to be slow and not a forcing. Like, you don't want to force the spine into a position where it might not be able to go yet. So it's a delicate and soft process. Another thing you can do is to use your inside calf, or the calf you want the horse to move the rib cage out of. So you can massage with, in my case, it was the right calf, the rib cage a little bit kind of out to provoke the spine to go into the correct rotation. That's something that you anyways do when you're riding the lateral movements to bring the horse into the correct bend. You will use your seat and your calf naturally, but you can also try to put a little bit more consciousness on that aids to help the horse to get into the right rotation